we've left the country because we did not have a lot of opportunities.
This is Callum Smiles for Vox Populi Media, and I am back in Bucharest for the second round of the 2025 presidential election. And today I'm interviewing someone back home in the United Kingdom, one of the Romanian Diaspora voters, who's in one of the 60% that voted for George Simeon back in early May. And I'm going to ask him why he wants George Simeon to win. So Andrei, thank you for joining me. You are one of the Diaspora voters in the United Kingdom for the Romanian election. Firstly, are you willing to say who you're voting for?
Absolutely. I'm voting for George Simeon.
And why is that? Why is the support in the diaspora? Because in the United Kingdom, over 60% of the Diaspora votes in the first round went to Simeon. Why are you one of the 60%?
Being here and seeing the culture and seeing the politics here and seeing the sort of subjects that have been addressed or the views that have been that have sort of created issues among the citizens of the UK. We managed to compare, and we sort of have something as a point of reference. Let's say I can speak on from my perspective. I know what's going on here from a political standpoint, and I know that I don't want it back home. And I know what mistakes the West has been making, and I know what mistakes we have made in the past, and I don't want. Ideally, I would love for the UK to stop making those mistakes, and even better, I don't want my country to still be making those mistakes.
And is that a worry with the Nicolae Dan presidency that Romania might become like the new liberal West?
I think it's unfortunately it has already been happening even back home, and to a certain degree we're still conservative and we're still traditional and we still care about many of the values that have been trodden on by the communist regime back in the day, and by what's supposedly the liberal movement in the West, when it's not. It's already been happening, but with Nicolae Dan, if he was to come into play, I think that he would probably fast track that. And the way in which I look at him, he's just a puppet. He's just a front for whomever the individuals are in the back. And like I said, I have already seen the type of the liberal arguments. I have already seen and heard them made at home, and they make no sense. For my dad and I knew already. I've been following politics for ages, right? Since 2014, 2015. Actually, that's when I actually kind of started being a lot more aware and then challenging everything. And granted, it has happened with the help of some individuals that clued me up on certain things, but obviously I started doing my own research and challenging every certain argument, liberal argument. So it was my dad spotted it a mile away. I didn't even have to have long conversations with him about it. He already knew, yeah, this doesn't make any sense. From a common sense perspective, many of those arguments don't make any sense. It's unfortunately we have important, or Romania actually has important many of those. What I despise specifically, identity politics. Everything has to do with race. Everything has to do with gender. Everything has to do with whatever flavor of the month, LGBTQ plus AI, whatever the hell is. And it doesn't make any sense.
What's the most important issue for you this election?
Sovereignty. The ability of our country to make their own choice with regards to everything. The ability of our own country to be able to rule ourselves, to lead, keeping in mind our culture and our traditions, and not be ruled by other entities or other institutions.
I've spoken to a lot of people voting in this election, and for them, they are now, it seems that they are voting purely because of what happened in December 2024. You know, the first attempt of an election. That's kind of like now their main focus when it comes to this election.
Yeah, this is very much a revenge. They're very much they're trying to stick it to the system, to the man that is the system.
Did you vote for Simeon in 2024, or were you a Călin Georgescu fan?
Georgescu, definitely.
So you've gone from Călin Georgescu to now voting for George Simeon because of what happened.
Absolutely, yeah.
Why do you think they banned Călin Georgescu?
He was going to win, and definitely that definitely threatened. I don't know enough to be able actually to give you details, but I'm spitballing here, and I'm very much of the belief that their pockets were going to be threatened. It's because it's always down to money. So that's what I believe. He was going to win, and I'm pretty sure that he was going to make a dent.
And, you know, with the election, you know, just round the corner now, which way do you think it's going to go?
I want to believe that he's going to win, that Giorgio Simeone is going to win. I want to believe that they're not going to try to pull some crap, for lack of a better word. But at the same time, I'm quite realistic. They have tried doing something of the sort with Călin Georgescu. Who says they're not going to try to do that again? Who says that something could stop them? Or yeah. But I want to say 90%, 90% or 95%, I want to say that he's probably going to win.
What do you think makes George Simeon the right choice? What do you think makes him a good leader and the best option to be the next president of Romania?
You're going to find this surprising, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think he's the best choice. I don't think he's currently the right choice. I think that Călin Georgescu definitely was, and still is to a certain degree. And I'll say that because it comes with his experience. And at the moment, I think that Giorgio Simeone, while well-spoken and well-versed, I just think that at times he makes some mistakes from a political standpoint, from a political strategy, let me say. And I think that he just doesn't have enough experience, and I think that he probably still has a lot to learn. If he keeps the right type of people next to him, I think he can learn a lot, and he can do it quite quickly. And I think that he can make up for those mistakes that he did in the past. But at the moment, he's the best choice that we have. But he's not, for me, the right choice. The right choice would have been Georgescu.
Well, Georgescu will just become his prime minister, won't he?
Makes the most amount of sense, to be honest, actually. And it's probably going to be even more advantageous for us because from what I understand, the prime minister actually has a lot more ruling power. Giorgio Simeone, I don't think he's the right choice. He's the best choice thus far. I think he's well-spoken. I think he's got integrity. I think that he's quite clear on his positions, and I think that recently, at least, refusing to join the debate and not allowing the media to misinterpret his words, I think that's quite smart.
Do you like his MAGA approach and his, you know, he has publicly aligned himself with what he calls Trumpism. Do you think that's a good thing?
One hand, I want to say, you bet your goddamn ass it is. I'm a fan. On the other hand, I also want him to be his own man, and I want him to have his own way of thinking and of doing things. But you can't fight when you're aligned. You can't find that philosophical and political alignment. When it aligns, it aligns. It's just It's just that clear. It's that simple. And then what is it? What are we aligned on? We want to protect our country. We believe in borders. We believe in security. We believe in sovereignty. In like I said, the ability to rule for ourselves and decide for ourselves what's best and get the best deal. And if I'm going to be completely honest, this is very important for me. Stamp out any sort of communist, Marxist rhetoric, which I believe is it's a sickness, a disease of the mind, if I'm going to be completely honest. So that's why, at least for me, that's important. But like I said, he can also make the same points by maintaining and developing his own identity.
Do you think with some of the things Simeon is proposing, so he wants to bring diaspora voters back home. Mm-hmm. He wants Romanians to come back to Romania and, build Romania up. Do you think if he wins, you will see actually more Romanians that are abroad wanting to come home?
Depends. It depends on a few things. It very much depends on what our economical status is going to be like afterwards. So it's going to be fine and dandy. This is a one shot, I'd say. What do I mean by that? This is probably the one shot and the last shot that the Romanian public is going to give to another politician. So if he comes in and brings Călin Georgescu on his team and they start moving and actioning in the right way and things start changing in the right way, beautiful, great. Yes, more than likely you're going to see a lot of people going back home, because if I'm going to be completely frank, we love our goddamn country. It's a beautiful fucking country. We have the sea, we have the mountains, we have great food, we've got a very healthy environment. We've left the country because we did not have a lot of opportunities.
Andre, thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure, my man. My pleasure.
If you like everything that we do here at Vox Popular Media, then please head over to voxpopularmedia.com, where you can stay up to date with absolutely everything that we're doing, both home and abroad, for honest, independent journalism. Thank you.